The Niners are about to capitalize on their own mistake. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but I've got my guy Paul, who's a New York Giants guy, and he, based on what he's telling me, I think this is all going to make sense for you in the end. We got the inside scoop on the New York Giants, and then I will tie it all together on how the 49ers are going to capitalize on their own mistake against the New York Giants tomorrow. It's going to be epic. Hit subscribe if you're looking for more 49ers content like this. Appreciate all of you guys so much for all of your subs and the liking the videos and commenting on the videos. You guys are awesome. Let's get to my guy Paul and get to this first question that I have for him. I had 3 questions for him, okay? The first question had to do with this defensive line. They've got a conundrum over there, and we've got a guy in Christian McCaffrey who can run the stinking ball. So how is this defensive line, this is basically what I asked him, how is this defensive line so loaded with talent and yet so unable to stop the run, giving up the most yards, rush yards this season in the NFL? What is going on there, and what can 49ers fans expect this weekend? Here's what Paul had to say.
Hey, what's up, Nate? That's a great question. Very odd to see such a good defensive line struggle against the run, but I think what it boils down to is Dexter Lawrence is the one guy who's great against the run. Their other D-tackle position has really struggled this year, and then in addition to that, like Burns, Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, they all are great at rushing the passer, but none of them are really known for being run stoppers. And then, there's only 2 edge positions, and you got 3 guys who play the edge. So to get all 3 on the field at once, they've been doing a lot of putting them out of position. So Abdul Carter especially has been playing a lot of off-ball linebacker, which he really didn't do much in college. And so it's helped, they've been rushing the passer very effectively, but it has caused them to struggle big time against the run. Just a lot of playing out of position, and then just D linemen who are much more suited to rush the passer than they are to stop the run.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Thank you, Paul, for that video. As I'm thinking about that, it makes a ton of sense, of course, in terms of the talent, the players, the talent that the Giants have on paper is unbelievable. But they're really good at one specific thing, and that one thing is rushing the passer, which the 49ers are desperately going to need to run the ball better this weekend. No doubt about it. Also, that's kind of the reason we want Thibodeau. If we're talking about guys that we'd like to trade for, hopefully we beat you and then you give us Thibodeau. That'd be kind of nice. But let's talk about the offense now, okay? So the offense has experienced a ton of loss. Obviously, Malik Neighbors, Cam Scatterbo. You got big name dudes, guys who are producing for your offense that you're relying on, young guys who are out for the season. What should the Niners defense expect out of this offense led by Jackson Dart?
Some brutal losses this year with Scatterbo and Malik Neighbors being out for the year. But the offense has been managing pretty well. Without Neighbors, we haven't really seen much without Scatterbo. What you can expect from them is a lot of Jackson Dart magic. A lot of what the Giants offense does successfully is when the pocket breaks down and he either tucks it and run. You're going to expect to see that quite a bit. Or he kind of escapes and makes a throw. They like to throw a lot of quick screens to Wan'Dale Robinson, and it was Scatterbo, but I think you'll see that quite a bit still with Tyrone Tracy. He was actually a wide receiver in college, so he's pretty well suited for those quick screens as well. And then they do occasionally like to throw downfield to Darius Slayton or even Wan'Dale Robinson sometimes. Then you also see a lot of 2 tight end sets from them and throws over the middle to their 2 tight ends, but I'm not sure Bellinger is going to be there this week, so it's possible if he's out, they don't do quite as much of that.
Okay, so as we're thinking about Jackson Dart, right, I'm thinking the 49ers play this team twice a year called the Arizona Cardinals, who have a mobile quarterback who can kind of hurt you in the same way. And I don't think they're the same player. I'm not trying to make those kinds of comparisons. But what I am trying to say is this defense and this team has had to scheme against a quarterback. And in the back of their minds, they know can easily go for a big run if you're not disciplined. So the 49ers will be prepared for that. I'd like to believe they have a good, solid game plan. We looked much better against the Cardinals. I get things have changed since then in terms of the players on the field. But, we looked much better against the Cardinals this year than last year. I thought we improved really well in that regard. So you also got to remember that you got a young quarterback in New York that we're going to be showing him a lot of different looks. We're going to be disguising pressures and stuff. So it's going to be a little bit more creative than what we've seen in years past, which will also help, against a young quarterback who has a lot of confidence, but, is not seeing everything on the field. So I think there's an advantage there. But I got one more question for my guy, Paul. And this one has to do with the path to victory. And I took it from an angle from his perspective. Like, I don't want him to tell me what he thinks we need to do to win. I want him to tell me what he thinks he needs to do to win to help us better understand what it's going to take to beat the 49ers. This is going to sound very, very familiar to everybody who watches every game of the 49ers. This is going to make a lot of sense, and I think this is where we're going to be capitalizing on our own mistakes. Hear Paul out, and then hear me out after it.
If the Giants win this week, it's going to be because they got out to an early lead, because Jackson Dart was able to throw the ball well, and they scored some early touchdowns, and the 49ers were never able to get the ground game going and forced to play from behind and throw it, because like we've talked about, the Giants have the worst run defense in the NFL. If the Niners get an early lead and can just ground and pound, this is going to be an easy win for you guys. But if the Giants can get a lead and the 49ers are forced to throw a little bit more, and you let Abdul Carter and Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence have a chance to pin their ears back and get after your quarterback, I think it's going to be a tough night for them. So definitely the big thing for the Niners is going to be get out to an early lead and just pound the rock, and I think that's going to be the path to victory for you guys.
Yeah, and man, massive thanks to Paul for giving us this New York Giants insight. What he described, I texted him after this, what he described is exactly, it is a spitting image of what the 49ers faced against the Houston Texans. They are playing from behind, and that gave the quarterback a ton of confidence to run the rest of the game through the run game and the passing game. Everything felt really easy for the Houston Texans because they got that lead. And then the 49ers, their response is much different. They're not able to run the ball the way that they want to or test certain packages in the run the way that they want to against the Houston Texans defense. I think it's the same storyline for the Giants. The name of the game for the 49ers tomorrow is you cannot get behind. You have to manage the game early on, which I will actually argue the 49ers did okay on defense in terms of bend, don't break, hold them to field goals. But that was only 2 drives, and then all of a sudden it was touchdown. So it got away from them real quick. And I agree 100%. If you want to win this game, it is establish the run early. It is establish a way to convert on third down early. It is establish a way to move the ball, not just through the air, because you're not going to want your quarterback compromised against this very good pass rush and your questionable at times offensive line. You do not want to be in pass pro a ton this game. You cannot come out of this game only having 40 some odd plays on offense. That's a problem. Nobody wins a game where they have 40 some odd plays on offense. That's not a good key to victory, right? So your offense needs to get out there and they need to move the ball. And in order to do that, they're going to need Christian McCaffrey to be more than a guy through the air. They're going to need him to move the ball on the ground, and Brian Robinson Jr. for that matter as well. So if the 49ers can establish the run against a team that gives up a lot of yards in the run game, then I think everything's going to get easier for the 49ers in the rest of their play. That's where I'm at. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. As always, appreciate you, Paul, for giving us that insight into what to expect. And I do believe that the 49ers' recent mistakes against the Houston Texans is a perfect setup for them to make clear corrections, go in with a very similar game plan in general, right? Generally speaking, and come out on top in New York, despite the fact that it's an early game, despite the fact that it's traveling West Coast to East Coast, despite all of that. I think the 49ers established the run. They get gritty early on, and if they can get ahead for get a 2-score lead, all of a sudden, just like my man Paul said, all of a sudden everything looks very easy for the 49ers, and it's a victory. That's what I'm hoping for. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments. As always, appreciate you guys, and hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Saturday.